I forgot another time to record the sketching, the digital sketching. Well, basically, this is the draft of the design, and so I'm showing you not exactly the process that I did to create the draft, the sketch on which I based the new design. Of course, I'm doing the drafts on my computer because it's easier. I don't have to waste too much paper, and so I can experiment. And then when I'm happy with a basically decent outline, then I save it. I print it in the exact size that I need to tattoo the design, and then I work on paper because I enjoy that and I find it more satisfying and easy. For me, it's easier to create a design on paper, probably because I'm an old guy. I'm coming from an analogic time when I basically was trained on paper. There were no PC, no Photoshop. So for me, creating a design on paper is easier than on computer. I find it easier when I have to color because of course I can do a lot of modification to my design. I can test many different options without having to redesign every time my work. But when I have to create something black and gray, I really enjoy and I prefer to create it on paper. Even if as I told you, I prefer to create the draft and the baselines on the computer because I can erase and do any changes that I want without having to throw away too much paper, pencils, and erasers, and so on. So this design is for a back piece, and the original idea was of course from my client. He has something really intense that he wants to represent. Basically is well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but anyway, it's a pretty intense situation he is facing right now. So he wants to, let's say, solidify this experience on his back. And I think it's, anyway, a positive way of viewing his own situation, even if it's dramatic. I won't tell you which is because I think even if you don't know who he is and you probably will never meet him, but anyway, it's just a respect for this situation. So anyway, I think it's a positive way of viewing the situation with this design because he wanted initially a man and a woman grabbing their hands, and behind that an hourglass. This was his initial idea. Then he thought about ghosts, but creating the transparency of ghosts, well, apart from the fact that it's quite difficult technically, but I wasn't sure that could stand the test of time. And so we were evaluating different options, and so I had this idea like the two figures designed by the drape. Like you can see there is a man and a woman, but there's no body. It's just designed by the drape. And he really liked this idea. And then it was just a matter of creating this design. And about the hourglass, I remember there was an advertisement. I don't remember about what. And I remember there was some monuments up and below. One basically was disintegrating, and the other one was created by the sand that was dropping from top. So I suggested him, why don't we do something like that? And so he immediately thought, yes, I like it, and I wanted a skull and a woman, because in his mind, well, it's pretty obvious. One represents death, the other life, and is also, yeah, the circle of life. You die, you may be reborn, but anyway, it's a cycle of life, death and life. And then there is love, these two figures, and then the time that's passing by. I looked for many hourglasses, but to be honest, I didn't find anyone that I really liked. So I mixed the details from different hourglasses that I found. So there was, well, the center part is pretty easy, because anyway, an hourglass is just that. There's no other way to make an hourglass. Basically, there are two glass spheres connected, so it's pretty easy. It's just about reflection and shadows and so on, and then it's all about what you put inside the hourglass. But let's call it the support. I found nothing really interesting. So I was looking through many images that I checked on Google Images. I found one that was pretty interesting, and there was these two ellipses, metal ellipses, up and in the upper part and on the bottom part, but they were connected with just two pieces of metal. The only thing that I found interesting was those two ellipses. So I mixed those two ellipses with this kind of support. Let's call it, it's not a filigree, but it reminds something like that. So I decided to create this unique hourglass that I find pretty interesting, even if the support is not really evident, because of course it's covered by the two characters in the design. And then I just draw on it. And to create the drapery was pretty intense, because of course if you do something like, I don't know, in comics or something caricatural, you can you're pretty easy to do whatever you want. You just give the idea of all the bendings, all the drapery and so on. But if you want to do something realistic, it must be pretty accurate. So I did the design, and then after that I asked to my girlfriend to stay in position with many different dress that she has. And so I took a few pictures to see how the tissue is moving around the body, and I did the same with myself. So I put on myself bed sheets and stuff like that, just to see how the things were bending around the body. And so I used many pictures to create this design. So I put in front of myself all these pictures. I think were probably 20 or 30. I printed them and I put it in front of me, and then I started with the baseline that I already did. I started to create the design, do all the shadows and so on. I didn't use the colored pencil base and then moving forward with the pencil, because I don't know, I felt pretty confident straight away. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I started just with the pencil. It depends by the level of confidence that I have with the design. Here you can see I'm using a marker to trace the outline, because sometimes I get bored while I'm doing, not really bored, it's just to keep my mind fresh. So as soon as I get a little bit bored about something that I'm doing, I'm moving forward with something else, even if a part of the design is not completed, like the shadows on the woman. So I decided to move forward with the curvy line, to of course trying to get the line as precise as I could, also because a good stencil helps a lot. Even if I'm not using this to stencil, I will retrace everything on my computer, because I usually always do post-production work on the computer, because I can change little things, add a little bit of light, maybe working a little bit on the contrast, even if I have to be honest, my scanner has some problem with the contrast, because it's always dull. I have to work on the setup of my of my scanner, but I will do that sooner or later. But I'm a bit lazy, and it's not something that I really like to set up things and so on. When I have Photoshop and I can set up things there, it's easier, also because I don't know, it's not really a great scanner probably, or I'm just not good enough setting up my scanner. So when I did the design, I was very, very happy. But when I put it on the 3D model to see the effect, I felt that something were missing. We're missing a background, something that could make it the design better. So I tried different options, like I tried lines to recreate what you can find in some sacred sculptures or something like that. I tried many different options, graphics, hexagons, a lot of stuff, but I couldn't find anything. The only thing that worked really was putting some space, but I thought about the space just later. The first idea that I had, because this is a design about life and death, so I reminded to myself that I'm doing another I did another design, another tattoo I'm working on about afterlife, and is the concept about the idea that in life and in death, the atom is pretty much always there, and it doesn't change. So, and you can probably see, well, probably you can see that in the video that I posted before of this one. And so I thought about some electrons that goes around the design. So I started sketching something like that. I talked with my client and I showed him my idea. And because the electrons that were turning around the design, it wasn't enough. So I put it some space. And it wasn't still, here I'm cleaning the design. And still it wasn't enough. So because I don't like the tattoo that are fading in nothing, I prefer to put some kind of frame. So I created a, let's call it a frame done by hexagons. And unfortunately, I didn't record all the process, because it was I did it on my computer, and unfortunately I didn't record that. But anyway, I already started the tattoo, and I did the first sitting, and but I forgot to record also that the first sitting. But I'll try to remember to record all the next sittings and to add another design. So this is basically how it should be, the design on skin. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to subscribe, to give it a like, and click on the bell. See you on the next video.